What is going on, dudes? This is Vapor. Welcome back to some more videos. Holy crap, guys. How long has it been? How long? Tell me. What year is it? Your boy's just over here working his booty off and trying to keep two gremlins alive, which, they don't want me alive sometimes. I love them to death. I love the whole family experience. It's just been a lot, and I haven't had any time to really do this. But I noticed there's a lot that's come out since my last upload, which might have been like 2 months ago now. I don't know. There's so many games I need to play. There's so many things I need to react to. There's try not to laugh challenges I've been trying to do. There's stuff for the other channel, like Digital Circus, episode 3 or something. I don't know, dude. I'm just behind, and I want to not be. I want to be in front. So anyway, we're going to be checking out this title right here, an Undeniably Canon FNAF Timeline. Part 3 came out today, maybe yesterday. I don't know. It came out. That's all I know. It's about 35 minutes long, so make sure you get your popcorn, get your snacks, get your breakfast, lunch, dinner. I got my coffee in the best mug ever because we're going to react to this, and it's probably going to be funny. So everything will be a link in the description down below so you can check everything out for yourself. Obviously, along with the ooftroop, who's created this amazing series, and I don't know when the last one was uploaded. It's probably been a year or so, maybe even longer. I don't know, dude, but this is going to be lit. So please go subscribe to him if you enjoy this. And if you haven't checked out my other previous reactions to the other ones, I suggest you go check those out as well. So I'm gonna click play on this in 3, 2, 1. Boom.
Long time no see.
Long time no see indeed. I'll keep these captions on for you guys.
What are you doing?
I'm not reading.
Yourself. Allow me to do the hard work for you and continue the most undeniably canon FNAF timeline you'll ever hear.
We're right into it, I guess, eh?
William Afton, after a long day's work and a 5-minute murder spree, decided to head back out to the dining area of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and stand around like nothing happened. However, the entire restaurant was in a panic, as one of the customers caught sight of Henry doing that blank stare thing again. William decided this was the perfect time to finally confront Henry about the $5 he was owed, but out of the corner of his eye, he saw a suspicious boy jump out of the ball pit. William had seen this kid before, socializing with some regulars in recent weeks. He wasn't typically one to speculate what the patrons were up to, but he strongly felt something was up with this boy in particular. So, he decided to traumatize him for kicks and giggles. William lured the child to the safe room and graced him with the sight of all the freshly stuffed missing children. The kid, being reasonably horrified at this, made a mad dash back to the ball pit as William chased after him. Once he dove back in, though, William decided it wasn't worth the trouble of going any further. That ball pit was not pleasant, so William was just about ready to forfeit the chase, until the ball pit lit up. William realized there was something much more mysterious about this than meets the eye, so he decided to come back to it after making some preparations. The next morning, he got dressed for a potential vacation destination, staged a photo shoot to let Henry have a vague idea of where he was, and donned the spring bodysuit before plunging into the pit.
He just knew that it was gonna teleport him? What is this, the FNAF sitcom? Basically.
The year is 2023. Oswald, a boy that had taken advantage of a time-traveling ball pit in a shady pizzeria named Jeff's for the past few weeks, suddenly emerged from it in a panic.
This is canon.
Greeted by his confused and upset father. Before his dad could give him a stern talking to, though, William Afton caught him by surprise and dragged him down the depths of the dingy pit to get himself out. William was taken aback at how easily he caught up to Oswald, but figured there must have been some inexplicable time dilation that made things more convenient. With all that settled, William took Oswald out of the pizzeria, discovered what a GPS was, and took the boy home. Although he was fascinated by his surroundings, he couldn't fully take it all in. He was too focused on the bit. Once they arrived at the house, he sneakily bribed Oswald's mother to play along with this until further notice. After Oswald fell asleep, William decided he felt like snooping in his belongings for the heck of it. After sifting through pages of one of the boy's notebooks, he found drawings of the old Freddy's mascots accompanied by various characters he
that famous S that every 90s kid used to do.
What this was supposed to look like was enough to inspire him. So, he grabbed some spare junk from the garage and began working on a new animatronic to see what would happen. Overnight, William's mess of parts somehow turned into a fully polished masterpiece. However, upon seeing he had created nothing but a conventionally attractive female character, William immediately lost interest, so he threw her in the trash before going to sleep. The next day, Oswald decided to rescue his father before it was too late. Although William tried his best to stop the boy, Oswald managed to knock him back. William, disoriented, clumsily stumbled into a net and hung himself before Oswald and his dad safely escaped. Fortunately, poor structural integrity came to the suffocating William's rescue. The ball pit's net snapped, launched William down and out the ball pit, and he skyrocketed back into the Freddy's parking lot in 1985 as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, in 2023, local entrepreneur Michael Afton finally organized all of his plans for the revival of Fazbear Entertainment. He wasn't quite at the point he was hoping for, though, thanks to Hurricane City Council catching that all of his documents showing their approval for different projects had forged signatures. Normally, they'd let this kind of thing slide, but they all had unanimous beef with Freddy's, and seemingly had a means to shut Michael's plans down. Upon the discovery of training tapes at the wreckage of its most recent disaster, it was made apparent that the company was meant to be finished off for good. Knowing his good looks couldn't get him out of this one, Michael thought of a more practical solution to this problem. So he quickly tampered with the tapes while nobody was looking.
Pardon me, but if you wouldn't mind re-watching this tape, I do believe you'll find yourselves to be mistaken about the state of the company.
There is need for you to return to work next week, as Fazbear Entertainment is our corporate entity.
The city council's hands were tied by this indisputable evidence, and they begrudgingly allowed Michael to continue his business ventures, as long as he didn't immediately build a giant building over half the town. So, with that, Michael decided to buy out Jeff's Pizzeria, since it was just a crudely repurposed Freddy's location anyway. Using blueprints left
He killed the man with money.
Near-perfect recreations of the classic animatronics. Everything was looking up for Michael, and his efforts rewarded him with massive success. Hearing the cacophony of customers at Freddy's every day made Mike confident in the pizzeria, and now he wanted to pursue a more personal project. After scouting out local scientists, he kidnapped Phineas Taggart to assist him in a new product for Fazbear Entertainment. Michael described his vision to Taggart, a marvelous substance that could violently clone and replace anyone it touched. When questioned why he wanted to create such a thing, Michael simply brushed it off as necessary trauma, much like what he had to go through to become a successful entrepreneur.
Oh wait, hold on.
Okay, but why do we need to make Fazgoo specifically?
It will build character.
Taggart was somehow satisfied with this answer,
That's
and
what
after
it'll
26 and a half minutes, he had developed the first ever sample of Fazgoo. Michael was ecstatic at the sight of this creation, but he needed to be sure it worked. Before he could dismiss Taggart, though, the scientist begged him for payment. Mike did not want to give actual money to this guy, so he just tossed him a robot dog and kicked him out. Meanwhile, the rejected animatronic from William Afton's vacation had been hauled to the dump. After a while, a stray soul discovered it and decided to call it home. This turned out to be William's ex-wife, Eleanor Schmidt, who had been kicked out of Molten Freddy during Henry Emily's final blaze of glory. The children inhabiting the animatronic
I like
mass
this
voted
story
that
better,
Eleanor
though.
didn't deserve to move on with them.
Undeniable.
So they quickly ejected her so she'd be stuck in this plane of existence indefinitely. After recollecting herself after all this time spent
The
sitting
animations
in
are
the
actually
backseat of
pretty
Ennard,
good, considering
she gathered
being
that this animatronic
two-dimensional.
had no discernible
Looks great.
characterization prior to her possession. So, having the full jurisdiction to present as any name she pleased, she decided
Electric
to go by
Boogaloo.
While adjusting to her new body, Eleanor realized that her dress had a feature she only thought was possible in her wildest dreams. It had pockets. She needed to make use of these immediately, so she quickly looked around the junkyard for something worthy to put inside them. Her eyes were drawn to a pile of strange discs within the trunk of an old car, so
Three
Eleanor
strange
went ahead
discs.
and grabbed them. Upon taking them, however, the sound waves these discs emitted granted her with cosmic power beyond her human understanding. Eleanor, realizing she could do anything she desired, immediately
She became a
teleported to
god.
her old accounting firm, expecting to get right back to work. Her old boss was bewildered at the sight of her again and grimly told her she was laid off and replaced 38 years prior. She did not take this news well. Filled with sudden rage, Eleanor killed her former boss and was quickly enamored by the power his agony fueled her with. She became obsessed
That's
with feeding
creepy.
on more of this, so she started plotting what to do next.
I liked
Now
that,
holding
though.
a grudge against basically any businessman at this point, she targeted every major corporation she could think of and obliterated all of the people in charge of them. Now filled with triple the infinite power she had already, Eleanor was ready to claim victory as the greatest evil the world has ever known. To her surprise, though, basically everyone on Earth that was subjected
It's
to
a
these
villager.
corporations was happy about their
Vaporized.
immediate quality of life boost.
1%
and Eleanor
vaporized.
was hailed as a benevolent
Am I that
revolutionary,
1%?
siphoning the agony right out of her with their collective joy. Becoming the
Heard
hero of
declare.
the working class was not what Eleanor had in mind.
At Costco.
Although she kind of enjoyed the respect, that didn't do anything for her newfound hunger, and she needed to cause more problems. To avoid repeating the same mistake as before, she decided to keep things local. Drawing inspiration from how her ex-husband managed to discover Remnant, she warped to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to do what William did, but better. However, as she approached the front door, Michael caught sight of her and immediately grew suspicious.
Who are you, and what are you doing here?
It's me, your mother. No hard feelings about the stupid incident, right? No matter. I'm here to massacre all of your patrons for personal satisfaction.
How predictable.
How
Being
amazing.
called out on the
Thank
spot
you,
like
Eleanor.
that really got under Eleanor's skin. She would have murdered Michael out of spite in any other circumstance, but given she did owe him after the scooping incident, she let this personal attack slide. Eleanor needed to prove Mike wrong though, so she decided to pull asinine stunts nobody would ever think to do. After that, an unlucky child just so happened to pass by Eleanor's line of sight, and Eleanor decided this kid was the perfect first victim to truly test her power. The child, named Sarah, was minding her own business as Eleanor followed her closely. As Sarah approached the suspiciously plot-relevant dump, Eleanor warped to the trunk she found before for the girl to notice her. Sarah was incredibly transfixed with the animatronic's beauty, and excitedly carried her home to use as a display piece or something. At night, Eleanor figured this would be the perfect time to activate and begin her plan. She promised Sarah that she could make her wildest dream come true, to be beautiful. Sarah, understanding
they
that
said
she was
it.
perfectly fine the way she was, immediately agreed to this proposal. However, Eleanor told her she needed to forever wear her
Does
pendant
that
for
say
this to work.
Sailor
Over the next
Thrift?
several days, Sarah was completely transformed. She became much
Is
more
that
popular,
what
much
gets
more
me
confident
going?
in her looks, and much more paranoid that something would go wrong. And go wrong something did. With just one slip on a comically placed banana peel, Eleanor's pendant flew right off of Sarah's neck.
She got Mario
Sarah's terror,
Karted.
Eleanor was actually replacing her body with chunks of scrap metal, and the pendant was all that kept her hollow metallic membrane together. Sarah desperately ran back home to try and beg for Eleanor's help, to which the animatronic welcomed her by shifting
I know this is
into
the
a
story,
lookalike
but it's
of the
just
girl's
creepy.
original body. Had she survived,
This would be
Sarah may have gleaned
actually
some sort of
terrifying if it
moral
was
from
true.
this whole ordeal, but unfortunately she had completely fallen apart into a miserable pile of scraps. Eleanor retrieved her pendant, now charged with terrible agony once again. With this boost in power, she was ready to take on the entire population of Hurricane in increasingly strange and specific ways. Meanwhile, Phineas Taggart was on a personal hunt for random junk. This particular
Frickin' ads,
hunt led him
dude.
to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, now in a sinkhole, where William, Afton, and Andrew just sat around playing Uno. Andrew's anger at William had settled quite a bit. All he had to do was scream into some trash, and soon enough he hadn't a clue why he was mad in the first place. Unfortunately, the trespassing Taggart wound up interrupting their game and slammed his robot dog onto Andrew's spirit, tethering his remnant to the toy's battery. William looked up at the man in mild distress. To avoid being tackled, tased, or anything else, he hastily got up and followed the man wherever he was going. On that note, Taggart arrived at his lab with his new trinkets, an Andrew-infested Fetch, and William Afton. Taggart didn't initially plan on anything special for the junk he was collecting, but finding
That's
a
a
stray
shark head.
soul in an animatronic
Is that
zombie truly
the
motivated him to try and do something
submechaphobia
spectacular
one?
with it all. To his amusement, said zombie was absolutely
These are obviously
hideous, and Taggart just
book-related.
had to make William's unsightliness
And I love
known
it.
to him.
Oh, please. How can it look that bad?
Terrified of the sight of his suit being
You look
horrendously
beautiful.
burnt and broken, William accidentally death stared his reflection and he exploded.
He just got
Taggart,
Uno
delighted
reverse
by such
carded.
haunted gunk all over his treasures, decided to take advantage of this and mash them all together into a new creation. This new animatronic not only merged the souls of William and Andrew into one body, it also introduced a third spirit into the mix. This was a child named Jake, whose death shockingly had nothing to do with Afton
forgot
or
that
Freddy's.
this is
With
part
his
of the
good
book, but
temperament
that's
compared
my
to the
name.
other two, he got to pilot the animatronic, while William and Andrew were stuck being backseat drivers. Taggart was delighted at his living Stitchwraith, but his joy was short-lived as William convinced Jake to slap the mad scientist. As it turned out, Afton's presence within the animatronic
I'd like to
killed
slap a
Phineas
mad
Taggart
scientist
on the
right now.
spot. Jake was
It'd make him
absolutely
even
horrified
more
about
mad.
this, but Andrew wasn't particularly bothered about it. After surveying the damage, they deduced that they should just wait for someone else to handle it. So, they sat there and waited until a garbage collector found them. Sure enough though, the mere touch of the Stitchwraith was all it took to kill this guy too. Immediately, Jake realized who was responsible for this. William had already been giving off bad vibes, but now he looked blatantly proud of himself. When Jake tried to explain this though, Andrew came to William's defense.
What's so bad about him? He cheated at Uno once.
He literally killed 2 people!
It was actually Uno reverse
Lies and
carded.
slander.
Sorry.
I did do that. As a matter of fact, I killed you too.
I think I'd remember being murdered.
Jake needed to solve this fast. After some internal bickering, he learned about Andrew screaming into stuff to release his rage. With that information, Jake reasoned that putting those pieces back together could potentially refresh Andrew's memory. He'd remember why William was a problem, and they could finally get rid of the purple parasite. After a few weeks of running around on a garbage hunt, and with only a few extra casualties, the Stitchwraith headed to an
Luigi.
abandoned factory to use its trash compactor on its collection. Suddenly, intruding on the scene was Detective Everett Larson, who had been tracking down the Stitchwraith this entire time to try and cope with his divorce or something. As Larson prepared to shoot it down, Jake suddenly caught notice of him and backflipped into the trash compactor in an act of defiance. As the Stitchwraith crumpled together with all the junk, Andrew finally remembered what he was so angry at William Afton about. He was just about ready to throw hands with his killer once more, but he quickly gathered he may have been out of his league. After the Stitchwraith flipped into the trash heap, William's soul transferred to the garbage and began forging it all together into a new body. After causing a chain reaction with the old machinery, William blew up the factory and used its debris to his advantage, growing into a 15-foot-tall monstrosity. So, making the decision to
That'd
cut
be
his
pretty
losses,
lit, though,
Andrew
let's be
quietly
real.
made a run for it while he still could. Larson, shocked at how dramatically the situation escalated, spent this valuable time throwing insults at the giant trash rabbit. William wasn't fazed by this, though. And simply
Your mom.
proclaimed,
Did somebody say agony?
Eleanor was there too, apparently. After learning of the Afton amalgamation's existence, she quickly launched herself into it to try and absorb its power. This caused Afton to become far more violent, and Larson was nearly killed by the amalgamation. Before it could finish him off, though, he began hearing a voice coming from his bag. It was the mask of the puppet, or at least his delirious mind figured it must have been. Nonetheless, he tossed it at Afton's shins, and the impact caused him to fall apart like a house of cards. As Afton sank into the lake near the wreckage, he noticed Eleanor escaping his collapsing body.
Try not
and
to
recognized
die.
her instantly. Not only was she his abandoned creation
got
from his time
hit in
travel
the
vacation,
shin
he felt
and
the spite
collapsed.
emanating from her, and knew it could be only one person. The woman who he once probably loved, then definitely hated, had managed to become far more than he ever was. And so, he looked at her in bittersweet longing before everything faded to black.
Oh my
William
god.
Afton was
I just
dead.
can't with this.
Now
This
that
is,
the
I love these so
amalgamation was
much. I'm so
destroyed,
happy there's a
the
third.
Stitchwraith ran to Larson's
There better be
aid.
a fourth.
Jake was all on his own now, and he wasn't going to let anyone else die. So, he whacked the detective with his battery, and that got rid of the lingering agony left behind by Afton. Now that Larson was a little less half-dead than before, he immediately tried to fight Eleanor. She wasn't impressed by his endeavor, and she dragged him into a highlight reel inside her mind.
Your investigations, your hunt for the Stitchwraith, your failed marriage. Who do you think was behind it all?
Bad luck, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought I was being
no.
more obvious. Sorry. Anyway, it was me all along. You didn't know it, Larson, but I was always there.
It's all the books. All the characters. Oh, okay. Like, how obvious.
Larson, horrified by the truth revealed to him by this master of disguise, immediately shot Eleanor 4 times in a row. This managed to disorient her enough to warp to another memory, where Larson then grabbed a baseball bat and bashed her head off. This went on in a loop for a while, weakening Eleanor,
Oh,
but
nice.
also not accomplishing too much otherwise. From an outsider's perspective,
Love
Larson
it.
and Eleanor just stayed in one place silently. The Stitchwraith was bored of waiting, so Jake decided to see what would happen if he tried to interact with Eleanor without Afton infecting his touch. This allowed the Stitchwraith to peer into her memories. While Larson and Eleanor were still having their grand battle, Jake discovered Eleanor's worst memory.
I heard Billy D. Williams was in this one. Oops. Spoilers.
Confused by what the problem here was, but nonetheless undeterred, the Stitchwraith grabbed Eleanor and launched her into the memory to be stuck forever. Now that Jake had saved the planet from Eleanor's wrath, he felt fulfilled in his purpose. With that, he moved on from this world, and the Stitchwraith was no more. Larson, now sitting alone in the wreckage of a factory with 2 lifeless animatronics in front of him, deliberated what to do now. He knew this was going to cause a big stink for the police department if he didn't have a believable explanation on hand. So he just tossed Eleanor and the Stitchwraith's bodies into the ball pit at Freddy's and blamed their hijinks on Fazbear Entertainment. Michael Afton, now facing immense backlash for reviving the company, had to figure out a way to save its reputation before it collapsed all over again. He checked his plans for anything that could help him, and to his relief, there was a perfect solution. All Mike had to do was cover up these allegations by touting them as fictional events from a video game series. After interrogating his board of directors to see if any of them knew how to make a game, one of them spoke up and said they knew of someone that could. This led Michael to a failed indie developer with a desolate hope for success, Steve Snodgrass. Steve's only claim to fame was a critically panned promotional title for Elt Chips, but Mike could feel the potential oozing from this creator. Steve just needed a spark, and Michael gave him lightning. Steve, ecstatic at the opportunity to make appropriate use of his uncanny modeling style, quickly whipped up a game called Five Nights at Freddy's. It was pretty simple, but Michael thought it was a perfect starting point. After Steve posted this game under the guise that it was totally unauthorized, it immediately skyrocketed in popularity. People were playing it left and right, and most importantly, those curious about the game's hidden lore started to confuse historical fact from modern fiction. Michael needed Steve to make a sequel, fast. Steve then churned out 2 more in only a couple days to resounding success. Mike realized quickly, though, that these games weren't actually helping with the current controversy the company was facing. Whatever skeletons were once in Henry's closet were of no concern to him. So Mike decided to assassinate Steve Snodgrass and cover up his death with a fan-made spin-off title. With that taken care of, Mike quickly commissioned an anthology book series to spoof recent incidents with Eleanor and the Stitchwraith. Despite the fact everyone knew about these public menaces, the prospect of reading about them made the public immediately stop caring. All Michael needed to do now was to tie it all back together by framing Steve Snodgrass as some random lunatic trying to deface his brand. So, he commissioned a studio called Silver Parasol to make a virtual reality game that cemented all of the rumors of Fazbear Entertainment as nothing more than fiction. Development was pretty standard, all things considered. The studio focused on remaking all 3 of the original FNAF games in VR, and then Michael personally provided them with scribblings of his own life experiences to use as inspiration for new levels. Alongside this, he also tossed them various circuit boards, notably from Scraptrap and some old endoskeleton hardware. He told the developers that it helped make the characters perform in Pathfind or authentically in-game, to which everyone collectively told him that's not how it works. After some gentle negotiation, Michael convinced the team to scan the circuit boards. This didn't seem to really accomplish
That one's literally
anything
holding the
initially,
circuit board
but
for
soon,
you.
something awakened within the VR game that nobody yet knew about. William Afton, against all odds, came back from complete eradication again due to lingering remnant on Scraptrap circuit boards possessing a program called Mimic 1. Observing the virtual space around him, William started digging through files to obtain a more tangible form. To his disappointment, he wasn't all too pleased with any of the Spring Bonnie or Springtrap models available to him. So, instead, William used the power of 3D modeling software to manifest a digital recreation of his wonderful pajamas. To save its new form, he overwrote an unused Springtrap model named Glitchtrap and decided that worked perfectly for his new environment. He was considering the name Malhair, but he had no idea how to rename the files, so he just settled with what he had. As production continued and beta tests began, Glitchtrap encountered Jeremy Fitzgerald II, the security guard Balloon Boy chewed on once. Now working as a QA tester, Jeremy tried to write off Glitchtrap as nothing more than a bug. As time went on though, he wound up being captivated by the virtual rabbit rattling off nitpicks about the game's character models and level maps. Jeremy agreed that this was a problem, and he promised Glitchtrap that he'd set things right and make the VR game as accurate as he could. The other developers, however, felt insulted by the sudden onslaught of criticism Jeremy provided. None of it seemed rational or helpful, so they all conspired to get rid of him. After finding a guillotine paper cutter, the Silver Parasol development team cut off Jeremy's face and made it look like he did it in a fit of hysteria. Jeremy didn't really appreciate this, so he finally quit his job as a QA tester and sued Silver Parasol for cutting off his face. With his position now open, a successor dubiously named Tape Girl took his place. Tape Girl, much like Jeremy, was also unusually intertwined with the history of Fazbear Entertainment. Her brother, Foam Dude, had sucked her into a passionate interest in the company while he constructed Fazbear's site.
This is literal.
She decided to pick up his slack and participate in the company's current renaissance. Glitchtrap, upon seeing Tape Girl, recognized her as one of Phone Guy's children and reasoned that she wasn't to be trusted. He had been burned by both her father and brother already, and he wasn't going to let that happen again. So, Glitchtrap went out of his way to freak her out as much as possible while she tried to beta test the game. Becoming terrified of this anomaly, and discovering that Silver Parasol was shutting down due to Jeremy's lawsuit, she hastily began to record audio logs documenting Glitchtrap's presence and other details that could help whatever QA tester replaced her. As she continued attempting to delete the anomaly from the game, Glitchtrap devised a plan to attach himself to her virtual tapes in order to prevent her from killing him. By the time she figured this out, it was too late. So she hid the audio files across the game as well as she could before development was switched over. Glitchtrap wasn't going to let Tape Girl go that easy though, so on her last day on the job, he created a brand new.
I like this story though. I know like it's
followed his bunny trail. She soon realized that he was
it's
the one
like
responsible for
partially canon. Like the story makes sense, but it's just so
reality. Tape Girl soon
outrageous
found herself
and
trapped
arbitrary.
within the suit of Freddy Fazbear as Glitchtrap celebrated her digital demise. Now that Silver Parasol was no longer developing the Fazbear virtual experience, Michael wiped all known traces of the company and its employees from existence. The replacement studio was run directly by Fazbear Entertainment, and they sent out some help wanted ads to get fresh beta testers. Soon enough, a new hire caught wind of the job opportunity and applied as soon as possible. This applicant was a passionate Five Nights at Freddy's fan named Vanessa Shelley. Vanessa was extremely excited to get the chance to test a brand new FNAF game. She wasn't confident that the new studio would uphold the franchise's integrity from the Snodgrass trilogy, but she chose to be optimistic. After putting on the headset for the first time, Vanessa excitedly combed through the entire game with almost nothing but enthusiasm. Experiencing her favorite series in total immersion was a feeling like no other, and she was having a blast. She was a little disappointed that most of the lore elements were seemingly gutted here, but that was a small price to pay compared to everything else. As she continued, though, she noticed some strange glitches throughout the various levels. Maybe this was some kind of new storyline she was unraveling. After discovering a hidden area within the game, Vanessa was able to piece together Tape Girl's recordings and discover the truth. To her horror, this wasn't just new lore, this was real. Upon this realization, Vanessa felt a shiver down her spine as she turned around to see a certain someone behind her.
Shake it, girly pop! What? Do you not like the voice?
Is this better?
After Vanessa took a short break to recover from that scare, she hesitantly put her headset back on and continued testing the game.
That was funny.
As she played, she noticed that Glitchtrap became more tangible as she found more of Tape Girl's messages. Vanessa was uneasy, but she decided that maybe it would be best
there literally
to
is a purple guy's. I see a Squidward plushie as well.
In relative silence, so she took this as a cue to speak. What started with conversation of her experience testing the game led to her entire interpretation of the FNAF timeline, including every ounce of external media she was aware of.
And then when Springtrap found him, he did a spot-on impression of the stepdad and then later stuffed him into an oven in Fazbear's Frights, and I think the actual place burned down, but it didn't in FNAF 3.
Who on earth is Hudson?
Glitchtrap had heard enough. Whatever nonsense Vanessa was recounting was absolutely nothing like what actually happened. So he caught her up to speed on the actual events of his life, from Ferdinand's creation to Afton's amalgamation eradication. Vanessa was over the moon. She never could have anticipated getting such a comprehensive understanding of all of Freddy's history, and she was shocked at how different the real answers were compared to the storyline the FNAF games portrayed. At this point, she decided she wanted to help Glitchtrap somehow escape the game. So, like any rational person, Vanessa decided to let Glitchtrap merge with her mind. Removing her headset, Vanessa now saw William by her side in the real world.
Hey, sup, man?
No, I think the other voice was better, actually.
You are so picky.
Afton, now inhabiting Vanessa's brain, wasn't keen on being confined in someone else's body again, so he begged her to help him find a new body for himself. After thinking through everything he had told her, Vanessa decided that she'd make her own personalized rabbit suit to keep William quiet while they tried to get him back into a physical form. Because that'd take a while, however, she simply crafted a mask in time for the Halloween festival Freddy's was putting together. Speaking of which, Michael Afton was preparing something big. He had been postponing his
Usually I
plans to
download
become an
these
animatronic
videos and then
father
watch them on
and it
my
was time
computer.
to finally set things in motion. He needed a perfect vessel, though, something his own father created. After some consideration, Michael took a visit to the graveyard and dug up the original Fredbear's body. He was going to revive the animatronic and make him into the perfect Papa Bear. Unsure of how to go about reviving an artificial intelligence, Mike figured that obscene amounts of electricity would do the trick. So he quickly stitched Fredbear back together and ran some tests to try and bring him back to life. And it was a success. Michael had let time slip right past him, though. The Fazbear Fall Fest was only in a few days, and he had yet to make the perfect attraction for it. All at once, it dawned on him that he could present the revived animatronic as Fredbear until he could fix him up properly. Sure enough, this worked perfectly, and at long last, Fredbear was the star of the show for the first time in decades. While attending the festival, Vanessa ruminated on her recent life choices. As she half-heartedly participated in the various attractions, William finally learned that Michael was behind all of this. For the first time in his unnaturally prolonged existence, he finally felt somewhat proud of his son. Before he could stew over this new emotion, though, Vanessa accidentally bumped right into the entrepreneur. Vanessa, utterly embarrassed, began to profusely apologize, to which Mike just blankly stared at her, waiting for her to go away. This led to Vanessa rambling once more about her obsession with his company, and this time she had all of William's knowledge at her disposal. Michael, initially uninterested, was taken aback by Vanessa's inexplicable understanding of Fazbear Entertainment's history. After evaluating whether or not to dispose of her, he determined she may be useful and gave her a new job with special attention. Vanessa was now part of a security team for a new project Mike was working on, the Fazbear Funtime service. This was a special delivery
Oh,
service
no.
where Fazbear Entertainment mass-produced replicas of some of the most iconic characters from the business's legacy and rented them out
Special
for
delivery.
criminally high prices. Vanessa was fascinated by this concept, and William realized this
Criminally
would be the
high
perfect way to
prices?
get a creation of his favorite
Sounds
fursuit. So, on
familiar,
Vanessa's first day of
Canada.
security, she hacked into the system with her gamer skills and ordered production of Springtrap animatronics.
You can say that's
By
true.
the time higher-ups noticed
No.
something unusual about this, they all shrugged it off since Springtrap was probably profitable enough to rent out. William was thrilled that his body had been perfectly remade, but he got cold feet once he realized Fazbear Entertainment was producing so much of him. He didn't want to just be another Springtrap in the crowd, he wanted to be in the spotlight. Vanessa was confused about him changing his mind though, and they began to bicker about the integrity of a unique Springtrap. Getting fed up with this, Vanessa tried banging her head against one of the replicas to attempt a transfer. This ended up knocking her out, giving William free rein to puppet her body. Knowing this could come in handy for future schemes, he quickly searched how to induce compliance in human subjects to ensure he could do this whenever it benefited him. This, alongside some other concerning web searches, alerted the IT department immediately.
It's my coffee I'm
Unfortunately,
drinking.
the only guy who cared to contact Vanessa about it, Lewis, was more interested in coffee than figuring out why she wanted to chop people in half. By the time Vanessa came
I get that.
she didn't have any recollection of the stunts William was pulling and simply resumed her normal work activity. Anytime William took control again, though, Lewis would shoot another email
Saw
wondering
Princess
why
Quest in the
Vanessa
corner
wasn't
there.
taking the hint. This led to a lot of one-sided conversation and coffee invitations, but outside of that, the Funtime service was doing great. People were renting animatronics constantly, and the funds gained from this inspired Michael to start offering additional characters and quirky variants of the existing ones. There was only one problem.
So many
Aside from
weird
the occasional fatality
variants.
from letting infamously killer animatronics out in public, delivery trucks for both animatronics and pizza started being attacked by bears. To Michael's surprise,
Real
bears
bears?
absolutely adored the taste of pizza and despised Fazbear animatronics. This was all thanks to their overlord, Ferdinand von Bernard. Although artificial, Ferdinand's cosmic power allowed him to integrate perfectly into bear society. His appearance indicated to bears across the world that he was something special for their kind, and he provided them all with wisdom far beyond their years. The most
This is
important
great.
thing Ferdinand taught them, however, was to hold a grudge against Fazbear Entertainment. Being left behind and replaced by his creators was one thing, but his arch-nemesis, Michael, becoming CEO of the company was another. Michael was losing at least 5 delivery drivers a day from these bear attacks, and paying off the lawsuits from this was the final straw. So he met with Vanessa in private and brought up her previous security breach on the Fazbear Funtime service. She was immediately terrified that she'd get fired, but on the contrary,
security breach.
Michael explained that he needed her to covertly program an order for war. After further instruction, Vanessa hacked into the Funtime service yet again to order the animatronics to attack all of bearkind. With just a push of a button, the Great Bear War began. Animatronic and
Bear
Earthsign fiercely
War.
clashed against each other within
Jesus
moments.
Christ.
The bears that could react stormed to the front lines wherever they could, and soon 2 allies arrived to
What
join them.
what am
It
I
was Trevor the
watching?
Cashier and
Oof,
Harold
what
the
am I
Janitor,
watching, bro?
Otherwise known as Shadow Freddy and Rickfist Fosks. Both of them had just been fired from their former jobs
Rickfist
as Freddy's,
Fox.
and Michael
That's
had
all- that's
completely
good. I
gutted
like
their
that.
pension. Rickfist Fosks tortured one patron for cheating at Pack and Pal, and that managed to cross the line, apparently. Shadow Freddy didn't want to work at Freddy's without his partner, so Mike fired him too just so he couldn't formally quit. With nothing to lose, Shadow Freddy and Rickfist Fosks tried to assist the war effort to rebel against Michael. Sadly, as Shadow Freddy attempted to conga line a troop of bears to victory, he was obliterated by a barrage of fireworks. As Shadow Freddy's dark remnants scattered across Hurricane, Rickfist Fosk's rage grew so powerful that he managed to shut down the Funtime Service's servers and end the bloodshed. This was too little too late, sadly, and he set off on a hopeless quest to recollect his partner and bring him back.
Love it.
Ferdinand, discovering Mike had nearly obliterated his people, knew he had to do something to fix this. After phasing through realities to forge the perfect plan, Ferdinand understood what needed to be done. For safekeeping, Ferdinand
This
warped
is
all
so
bears across
insane.
space to a new dimension he called Paradise, and waited for the stars to align in his favor. Now that bears were seemingly extinct, Michael had no real threat to his business. Additionally, his overall corporate success caught the attention of every major company in the country. The power vacuum they all shared from Eleanor's massacre allowed for Mike to buy all of them out for cheap, and Fazbear Entertainment became a mega corporation within the blink of an eye. With
Fazplex
this, the stage was
Towers.
finally set for Michael to build the mega pizzaplex of his dreams, and Hurricane City Council couldn't say no this time. Michael was proud of Vanessa for her cooperation, and despite her not really being qualified for any promotion, he ordered his board of directors to transfer her to the head of security at the Pizzaplex once construction was complete. It would take time for this project to finish, but Michael was absolutely certain that it'd be nothing short of his magnum opus. For now, he was left to contemplate his 2 personal projects. Dreadbear had been a great novelty for the Fall Fest, but his body's disrepair was not sustainable for a long-term business. So, Mike harvested Dreadbear's AI to use within a brand new animatronic, a glam rock reimagining of Freddy Fazbear. All Mike needed now was to finally use his Fazgoo for its true purpose. With confirmation from shady science teachers across the country that the substance worked, Mike was confident his most unattainable dream would come to fruition. Now, exploring every nook and cranny of Hurricane, he searched for the remnant he had coughed up after the Pizzaplex fire in order to bring his younger brother back. Soon after vaporizing Rickfast with a flashlight, Michael finally found what he was looking for. A chaotic energy emanated from the newest remnant deposit he discovered, and he knew he found him. Capturing the remnant and returning home, Michael guided the child's soul to the Fazgoo and watched as the boy was finally put back together. Now that his brother actually existed again, the fog lifted. After all this time, Michael could finally remember the child's name. Gregory Afton.
Love it. I love it. Perfect.
Alright, I hope that suffices for now. The finale
I was gonna say, are we done?
This one, and I've got to be prepared. Wait,
no, this is
Is security breach the end? Yep, nothing else. No secret up my sleeve. It all ends with... You'll see. Catch you next time.
I guess we got a part 4 coming. Gotta finish it off. I love it. I love it. That was great. I definitely can't wait for part 4. Well, let's just talk about that for a second. So if you're new to the channel and haven't seen these before, okay, this guy started, I guess a couple of years ago now and made this undeniably canon Five Nights at Freddy's timeline series. Because it started out as clearly 1, and it's just obviously an arbitrary remake of the actual timeline, and it makes sense, but some of it goes off the rails, like the Bearmageddon, whatever the heck they called it. That was hilarious. So many funny sequences. Like I said, I love the animation too. I love the 2D style. I love his narration. The Rick Six Fox, what was that? Like that got me a little too well. It was fantastic, and I really can't wait for part 4. We need a conclusion. That was my reaction to an undeniably totally canon Five Nights at Freddy's timeline part 3, done by Ooftroop. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and everything will be linked in the description down below, so you can check it all out for yourself. Obviously, along with the Ooftroop's channel. Please go subscribe. He definitely deserves it. And if you haven't checked out the previous undeniably canon videos done by Ooftroop, I suggest you go see them. They're amazing. Definitely need some recognition on that. Like I said, I have some other things coming out. I have a game that needs to be played today and uploaded tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. It's a really cool game. I definitely want to get a Try Not to Laugh challenge out sometime this week, and I also have a couple song reactions, animation reactions, and even Amazing Digital Circus Part 3 to react to still, which is on Netflix. Can I say that? It's on Netflix? That's insane. So like it if you enjoyed, guys. Subscribe for some more videos, and I'll see you in the next one. So, bye!